So, it's been quite an interesting couple of days, actually. I don't really know how to talk about it yet. I went upstairs and I sat, in the first sort of seat that I could come to, and it turns out that those seats are reserved. Now, I don't know how you exactly reserve seats on Amtrak, because it tells me that I've got a reserved coach. But that just means that there's a seat for me. It doesn't mean that I've actually reserved a specific seat. And these seats were specifically reserved. So we were told to move, which was fine. So I went up ahead and I sat next to a black man called Christopher, off to Galesburg. Now, Galesburg is one of these tiny little places right in the middle of nowhere. But it also, I think, is quite a major interchange. It's along one of the lines that carries a lot of stock, so you get these huge trains that just go on forever, and they're pulling all sorts of cars of, fuel and stock and merchandise and everything. I had a layover of a couple of hours, so I decided that I would check out the local area, and they had a few museums. They had some lovely shops. So I walked around a little bit, discovered what you call a Dollar General, which is basically like a smaller version and a cheaper version of Walmart. You've got Walmart, and then you've got below that there's a sort of, again, it's sort of between sort of Walmart and this Dollar General is this store, and I think they call it Kroger's or Kruger's or something like that. Anyway, to get some, I've fallen in love with pretzels. Last time I was here it was Taco Bell. Thank you, Nathan. This time it is pretzels. And there was this nice little vending machine that wouldn't give me my pretzels, and I was loath to. In England, you're not really allowed to shake these machines if they don't work, because it's classed as sort of vandalism, really, and if you're not careful, of course, you could kill yourself by bringing the whole, big machine down on top of you. So, anyway, the lady from the desk, she said, is it not giving you your pretzels? And I said, no, not really. And she said, well, it's all right, you can shake it. So I said, well, I'm a little bit, I don't want to, seem like I'm doing something wrong. So she sent out one of her heavies, and he was there for about 5 minutes, smashing this machine, trying to get these pretzels out. Really, they were very, very kind indeed. We got talking. Now, I don't know which company he's with, but he's obviously with a very big global company, because he travels to London at least once a year, and he also he was on his way to Chicago. He was doing the return journey that I'd just done. Presumably he was dropped off by the last bus from wherever, and now he was waiting for the train to go back to Chicago. I must have my coffee on my percolator. So then the bus arrived, and the conductor chap was just fantastic, because I had no real idea what I was doing. I didn't know where to put my luggage. I didn't know, where the station for Malines was. I had no idea how many stops there were, so I spoke to him a little bit, and he was fine. He was like, I'll announce it, don't worry, we've got a layover, I'll let you get off, there'll be no problem, don't panic about it, So I got on, and the bus was quite empty to Malines, which looks to be quite a happening place. I arrived in the middle of the night. It was dark already. It can't have been later than about 7:30, but it was dark already, and they'd obviously closed the station. So I walked around. No taxi rank. You had to phone for a taxi. I asked, some of the girls that were outside of one of the pubs still smoking, and they said, well, you really need to call. So I walked around again, and I went into a steakhouse, in fact, and the guy there was just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I must have seemed like a right sort of pillock, really, because I was like, I need to call for a taxi. And he was like, no problem. He got out his phone. He's like, would you like me to call for them? And he said they're going to come through. They'll be there in about 10 minutes time. If you just go out, there's a bench there. You can sit down and wait. Absolutely fantastic. Considering he had absolutely nothing to do with it. I mean, he was supposed to be working in a restaurant. Do you know what I mean? So, considering that, I thought he really went a bit above and beyond there. So, I've had phone calls almost every day from Denise and Sugarplum, my little Californian fairy. So they have really helped, in fact, because I've been able to talk to them and sum up in my mind what I've been doing. So he picked me up and he took me with his friend Kevin to the Wednesday group, which is basically a little Bible study group, discussion group. It's totally my thing. It's very, very almost English, I think, to do. I don't know if they do that sort of thing in America, but it's a very sort of you sit down, perhaps you read a little passage, or you read or perhaps you go through a workbook or something like that, and you talk about it, you discuss, and you see where the conversation leads you. And there was a group of us, must have been about 10 perhaps, and it varies apparently in size. It has been up to 35 people with about 20 billion fighters, and sometimes it's just 5 or 6 people that are members of the general public. They've got several pastors, priests that sort of go along to it. Things have changed from the book. I don't think the same person who is leading it in the book is leading it anymore, but it's still going on, and peaks and troughs. It sort of expands and contracts as time goes on, and it's hosted it at MFS in this little room. In this big room. It's in one of the wrestling rooms, in fact. So I enjoyed that. Afterwards, I met Noah Einhofer. Now, I had spoken to Noah, in fact, on MySpace, and he was perhaps one of the most receptive people to wanting to meet up when I came across. A lot of the fighters were like, that's lovely, when you're in the area, let me know, and perhaps I'll be around. But Noah was like, oh yes, we'll meet up, And when I got there, and I came through the door and sat down, before I'd introduced myself, because I didn't recognise him originally, he recognised me, and he was like, I see you over there. So, I talked to him for quite some time. Lovely guy. We decided that I was going to come back that afternoon. He was the person who told me, that the main classes happen, in the evening from 5 onwards. He said, but the real hardcore mixed martial arts class, he said it actually happens at 4:30. So he said, make sure you come back for that. We sat down and we ordered, and me and Tim. I can't remember what Kevin had, to be totally honest. But me and Tim decided that we were going to have cheeseburger and fries, and we ordered cokes and sort of waters and stuff like that. And I never saw him coming, to tell you the truth. But if you can imagine the table, it was a square table with 4 places. I was sat opposite Tim, and Kevin was sat between me and Tim, which meant that the other chair between me and Tim was sort of unoccupied, and I don't really know what to say, but all of a sudden there was just this person who sat down in the unoccupied chair, and it happened to be Jens Pulver himself. I don't know whether it was out of fear or what, but I hadn't actually let Jens himself know what I was doing or when I was around. I hadn't sent him an itinerary or anything. I don't know if it was a subconscious decision not really to want to bother him, or not to get my hopes up in meeting him, to find that he was, doing a seminar or something elsewhere. So obviously he was there, and I was just like, yeah, pretty much like that.